Hello, everyone, and welcome to Grandstand Sports Data. All right, so here's a fun one. What happens when we let ChatGPT bet the NBA and NHL playoffs? Yeah, we actually track ChatGPT's picks the entire postseason, one bet for every game. And let's just say the results definitely raised a few eyebrows, so stick around. This one might surprise you. All right, here's the deal. We track ChatGPT's picks for the entire NHL and NBA playoffs to answer one simple question. Can ChatGPT actually find value and succeed in sports betting? And before you ask, no, this wasn't some cherry picked highlight reel. Every single pick was recorded before the games even started. Also, if you must know, we use ChatGPT 4.0, which is the paid version of ChatGPT. We used a straight $1 per bet system. It keeps it clean, easy to scale, no weird percentages flying around, and we stuck to the basics: money lines, spreads, and totals. So no exotic props, no 15 leg parlays to chase lottery tickets. But if you wanted to know one catch that we have here, ChatGPT had to make at least one selection for every single game on the board. That's no skipping, no I don't like the slate excuses. It's like sending your buddy to the window and saying, you got to fire on every game, no matter what. So, yeah, we put AI to the test the same way you or I would face the Heat during the playoffs. Consistent system, clear rules, and a lot of bets to track. Okay, so let us be clear. This wasn't ChatGPT randomly throwing darts or pulling picks out of their ass. We actually walked it through our full Grandstand Sports Data bet selection process, step by step, just like we do in real life. So, if you've seen chapter 5 of our Art of the Sports Betting series, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If not, go check it out after this. We'll also leave a link in the description down below, but that's where we break down our full process for analyzing games and making smart betting decisions. So, for this experiment, we provided real data links for every single step of that process. I'm talking matchup stats, trends, fundamental factors, market movement, everything a bettor would normally look at before making a play. Once all the data was on the table, then we asked ChatGPT to give us its best bet. No guessing, no winging it, just picks based on the structured analysis and the information provided. So, yeah, AI had every opportunity to succeed. The question is, did it? All right, so let's dive into how ChatGPT actually performed with NHL playoff bets. And spoiler alert, this wasn't a complete disaster like you might expect when AI starts firing on hockey. The total bets was about 86 plays across the board. The win rate was pretty solid, 44 wins, 42 losses, which comes out to about a 51.2 win percentage. Slightly better than flipping coins, right? But that's not enough on its own to make money. Overall, the profit and loss, it was down just 0.40 units, and the return on investment basically was your efficiency score, and it came in at negative 0.5%. So yeah, we're floating around break even territory, not lighting the world on fire, but not buried alive either. Now, here's where it gets a little bit interesting. When we talk about money lines, they were actually a bright spot. ChatGPT went 17 and 11 on moneyline bets, and that's a 60.7% in terms of your win percentage. And it turned a profit of about $4.20 for every $1 bet, with a 15% rate of return. Honestly, that's respectable in a market as sharp as the NHL when you're talking in the playoffs. Now, spreads, even better, right? 5-3 record. It's about a 62.5 win rate. It was up $2.55 for every $1 bet, and a massive 31.9 return on your investment. Now, small sample size, sure, but still, you love to see green numbers, obviously. But here's the totals now. That's where it kind of fell apart. Went 22 and 28, just a 44% win rate, and down over 7 units with a negative 14.3 return on investment. It's a rough look, and honestly, it's not too shocking to us. Totals are tricky. They require reading game pace, flow, matchups, some things AI just doesn't grasp the way a seasoned bettor would. So what's the bottom line here from the NHL? Well, NHL money lines and spreads showed some promise. Totals were a weak spot. AI hung tough on the ice, but we'll see how it handled the NBA coming up next. All right, now let's talk about how ChatGPT handled the NBA playoffs. And I'll be straight with you. This is where things kind of fell apart. The total bets were about 84 plays across the board. The win percentage was 35 wins, 48 losses, and then that one lonely push, so that's about 41.7. For those keeping score at home, that's not even close to profitable in a sport as sharp as the NBA. So what was the damage? You were down about 15.72 units with a brutal negative 18.7 return on investment. And that's what happens when bets just don't hold up over time. Your bankroll takes a beating. Now, breaking it down by bet type, you can see the money lines. It was ugly, right? 2 wins, 4 losses, only hitting at about 33.3%. And those, it was down about 1.81 units. And a negative 30.2 return on your investment. So it wasn't betting dogs heavy enough to overcome the losses. So that strategy kind of fell flat. Now, what about the spreads? Even worse, right? 22 wins, 34 losses. It's just at about a 39.3 win rate, down nearly 14 units with a negative 24.9 return on your investment. And look, this isn't shocking. NBA spreads are notoriously tough, right? You're dealing with sharp lines, late breaking injury news, motivation swings, and all the stuff that AI might struggle to factor in. Now, the totals were surprisingly neutral, 11 wins, 10 losses, and then that one push, basically dead even with a tiny plus 0.01 unit gain and a flat 0% return on your investment. So the totals didn't crush us, but they didn't save the experiment neither. What's the bottom line? The NBA exposed AI's probably biggest weakness, and that's the lack of market awareness. No instinct for reading situational angles, and no ability to adjust in real time. You can hand AI all the data that you want, but that doesn't mean it's ready to step into the fire of the NBA playoff betting. All right, now let's zoom out a little bit and look at the combined results from both the NHL and NBA playoff betting. And this is where we get the full picture of how ChatGPT held up under pressure. Across both sports, we fired 170 total bets. The win rate, 79 wins, 90 losses in that one push, so that's about 46.5, which in sports betting terms, it isn't where you really want to be. The end result was down 16.12 units overall with a negative 9.5 return on your investment. So yeah, AI's bankroll basically would take a hit in this experiment. But breaking it down by bet type, you can see the money lines actually stayed afloat. 19 wins, 15 losses, and that's about a 55.9% hit rate. You were up $2.39 for every $1 bet, and you were up 7% in your portfolio. So that's respectable, especially considering how sharp playoff money lines can be. Now, let's take a look at the spreads, and that's where it kind of unraveled, right? 27 and 37, win rate of about 42.2%, down over 11 units, and nearly an 18% negative return on your investment. So, same story across both sports. AI struggled to navigate point spreads, especially when market conditions got tight. Now, totals weren't much better. 33 wins, 38 losses, and then that one push, so barely cracking that 45% win rate. Down basically $7.14 for every $1 bet, and nearly a 10% negative return on your investment. Again, totals require reading game flow, pace, situational dynamics, things that AI doesn't truly grasp the way a sharp human bettor does. So, what's the big picture? The AI experiment showed flashes of competence, right? Money lines in particular, but overall, it fell short of turning a profit. Numbers look clean, the process was structured, but at the end of the day, that market awareness and real betting instincts just weren't there. All right, technically, this slide says what we learned, but I'm going to be honest. This is really more about what I observed throughout this whole experiment as someone who's been betting for almost nearly 2 decades. So, first off, the biggest thing that stuck out is that ChatGPT didn't know how to weight its analysis. We gave it everything. We gave it market data, trends, fundamental factors, basically the same stuff that real bettors use every day. But from what I could tell, it treated everything equally. And look, in smaller markets, maybe you can get away with that. But in big market sports like the NBA playoffs, market analysis becomes way more crucial than your other handicapping angles. If you're not respecting market movement, sharp money, and price sensitivity, you're already behind. And I think AI might have missed that piece. Now, moving on to the second thing, no bet confidence or size and discipline. So ChatGPT fired on every game like every bet carried the same edge. which we all know is just not how successful bettors operate. You scale your bets based on confidence, right? You have a bigger edge, you have a bigger stake. You have a small lean, you tread a little bit more lightly. AI didn't have that instinct. And to be fair, we didn't ask for it neither. But it's a major missing piece when you're trying to turn a profit long term. Third was forced action and no pass button, right? This experiment required a pick on every game. So no matter how ugly the slate looked, but as any experienced bettor will tell you, sometimes the best bet is no bet. It's that old motto, right? A penny saved is a penny earned. And AI didn't have that luxury here, which inflated mistakes and probably exposed more weaknesses. And finally is odd shopping, or the lack of it. There were definitely moments where ChatGPT picked a side or total without locking in the best available odds. It didn't happen all the time, but enough to notice it. And anyone with experience knows every half point, every better price adds up over time, right? Leaving value on the table is how you slowly bleed your bankroll dry. And remember, we provide multiple links to compare sports books, and in some cases, ChatGPT still did not select the best odds. What's the bottom line here? AI handled the process, but it lacked the real world betting instincts needed to succeed, especially in these big, sharp markets. All right, quick bottom line here. ChatGPT can follow the process, no question, but it's missing the key instincts that separate casual betting from actually turning a profit. If we run this experiment back, we've got to make some real adjustments to give it a fair shot, or at least see what it can truly do with better structure. Here's what I would change if we do this again. First, we're going to need to test different bet staking strategies. Talking about flat bets, percentage based, even a simplified Kelly criterion for those of you that love the math side. Staking makes or breaks your edge, and would probably pair that with confidence grading to size bets properly. So, no more every play treated the same. The second one is one sport, one bet type, keep it simple. Maybe we do NHL money lines, maybe we do MLB money lines, but we need to narrow the focus. Dial into the process before throwing AI into the deep end of tougher markets like NBA spreads or totals. Third would be weighted analysis, right? Not all information carries the same weight. If we stick to the bet selection process, AI needs to treat market data like the priority, especially in bigger, sharper betting markets. Fundamentals and technicals matter, but the market is the king in all of these situations if you're betting in big markets. You have to remember that. Fourth, or the fourth thing that we would change, we would let AI read the board first. So no more forcing picks on every game. We would let it scan the slate, flag the spots it actually likes, and then walk through the bet selection process only for those games. So just like how a sharp sports bettor would narrow down their card. And then the final one we're kind of on the fence about, but it's odd shopping. And maybe I say maybe because this is still up for debate. Some folks want AI to handle everything from start to finish, pick the game, pick the odds, and then let it sink or swim like any other bettor, right? Others think that AI should point them in the right direction and then the bettor shoots, for a lack of a better metaphor, right? So the AI points at the right team, the right side, whatever it is, and then the bettor finds the line. But I'm neutral on this, so you guys can tell me what makes more sense for that next run if we do that next run. So, should we do part two? You tell us. Want to see this experiment run back? Different prompts, maybe new sports, maybe more aggressive edge hunting. Drop your suggestions down in the comment section. We'll build this based on what you want to see next. All right, that wraps up the breakdown of how ChatGPT handled the NHL and NBA playoffs. Not perfect, but that's what we are testing, right? If you want to see a part two, do me a favor and hit that like button. That's how we know this kind of content is worth bringing back. And I want to hear from you in the comments section down below. Drop your ideas. At Grandstand Sports Data, you know it's not just about firing bets, right? It's about testing systems, breaking down real results, and then getting better with every repetition. So if you're into real sports betting education without that hype, subscribe and stick around. We've got more content on the way, and like always, We'll see you in the next one.